I wrote this thing, but I'm not a Keith. I can't remember my own name, let alone 4 pages of sermon material. So in spite of my having written it, I'll try and wing it as best as I can, so stick with me. I now have used up 28 seconds of my 16 plus minutes. When Herod entered Rome at the head of the Russian army, and let me start over again. Forget what I just said. When Herod the Great entered Jerusalem at the head of the Roman army, you got it? The first thing he did after he kind of put everybody down or quelled the rioting that was going on was to kill and assassinate all the Sanhedrin, all the temple chiefs around Jerusalem and around Judea. He was not a nice man. In their place, he put his friends who had paid to play. You know, we don't do that anymore, pay to play. But Herod did. He was so effective in putting down the quarreling Jerusalem that Rome gave him a kingdom larger than Solomon's. And he proceeded to continue what he had done. He did really 2 things, though. He loved to build ostentatious building after the Greek idea. So he built temples, and he built houses, and he made the city of Cephas, the capital city of Galilee, into what they called the ornament of Galilee. So you understand what he's at. It cost a lot of money. The people had to pay taxes dearly, and there were no tax reforms and reductions along the line either. In fact, they had to pay more because he had to send a bit to Rome every month. So you get what's going on. He ruled for 18 years. His rule was tough. The only people who might have gotten a little better was because of all of the building. All those poor people who had no jobs had jobs. Though they had to walk a ways to get there. It wasn't in Nazareth where Jesus was born. Jesus and his dad had moved, walk about a day's walk to the capital of Bethel, of Galilee, in order to do the building. So you can imagine there was a lot of resentment built up in that city among the people. When he died, all of that hate, all of that frustration, all of that misery that he had caused came out. Riots everywhere, bandits everywhere, killing people, killing Herod's family, ruining the temple twice, burning his home along the Jordan River, basically making a mess of things. At that time, there were 24 sects of religions expecting one kind of thing or another. There were Sadducees, there were Pharisees, there were Essenes, and there was a group called the Fourth Philosophy, according to Josephus. I'm still trying to figure out what they were. But in any case, all of this stuff was bubbling up and had been bubbling up for years by the time Jesus came along. Interesting enough, Jesus was born about the time of Herod the Great's death. And all this festering anger and bubbling stuff was growing as Jesus grew. So when he comes to the mountaintop and sees a mob of people following him, he ain't expecting people from Dover Congregational Church. What he sees before him is this mob of people, all coming with the expectation of a Messiah, but with different expectations. Some were saying he's a good man. He's just leading them astray. Some were saying he's a Messiah, but you say that outside was treasonous, so you didn't say it. You may have whispered it to one another. But you came expecting Jesus to do something along the lines of things that you had in mind. Overthrow Rome. That was a biggie. Let's liberate ourselves from Rome. Right. That's like this church going out and trying to take over the government of the state of Ohio all by its onesie. It's going to happen. But people believed that and wanted that and tried to work it. One guy by the name of Hezekiah, a bandit, was doing a lot of killing himself. So all of this thing was festering. Jesus sees his mob coming to him. And his disciples, like good congregational people, wondered, what are we going to feed all these people? Jesus wasn't worried about what they were feeding in that sense. He asked them, the mob, to sit down on the grass. Didn't divide them up to sect 1, 2, 3, 4. Essenes over here, you Sadducees back there, I don't like you so well. He didn't divide them up. They were together. And Jesus said, hey, does anybody have anything here? Yeah, this kid's got some barley bread. Jim pointed out to me what barley bread was. Common, ordinary peasant food. He took the lowest common denominator that might have been in that congregation of people and said, we're going to share this. So they did. Those people sat down on the grass and communed together, broke bread together with Jesus. And there was enough for them and for more. But then Jesus sees something. He sees them coming to make him the king, the Messiah of their own image. He wants no part of it, and he escapes to the mountain. He leaves that mob of people with all of their anger, with all of their misery, with everything that was going wrong in the world, to work it out for themselves. Not to be pointing fingers at each other and saying, you're a sinner, you're bad, you're good. But to take that pile of differences, all of them in the world, and try to work it out. To ask them to do as he had done when he was healing the sick. To listen and feel the pain and the misery of those who are around him. Do you get that? To feel the pain and the misery surrounding him. Asians would call that Han. New word I picked up. H-A-N, it's the word of the day. Han is that pain and misery we feel when things don't go well, when we're hungry, when things don't go well at work, when those things that we would normally call the measures of life, success, car, house, etc., etc., etc. When those measures don't satisfy, and we always want more, or when we pick up the newspaper and things are not going well in Cleveland or Cuyahoga County, or our country, or in the Middle East, or wherever there is pain and suffering, Jesus feels that pain and takes it on himself. And in that moment of communion on the mountaintop, he asks the mob who was gathered there to feel that pain as well. And then try to work it out. It's a new vision. One that's not measured by success. If one were to measure success, You wouldn't find Jesus nailed to a cross. But what you do find on that cross is a man who suffered pain, suffered harm. There was no pointing the finger. It's just a matter of being with people. It's so hard to do once in a while, just to be with people. We tend sometimes to look at things going wrong and say, what did they do to deserve that? But think about this. We baptized Nicholas. I understand now that he is sleeping through the night. But when he wasn't, and it's 3 a.m., and you're trying to sleep through, did you wonder about Nicholas' sin when he cried? I know the answer to that question. No, of course not. What you felt was his hunger. You wanted to check his diaper. What was causing this? And once you could figure it out, you could address the issues, put him back to bed, and go back to sleep for another 2 hours. Feeling Nicholas's harm and healing. Feeling the harm of the world and healing. That's what it's about. As you know, I get into Cleveland a fair amount. I read the newspaper, I look at the news, and I see a lot of harm. Why don't they fix it, I hear? Who? The powerless are going to fix it without us? No. What we are asked to do is to feel that harm as well, to absorb it into ourselves, into our lives, and to stand with the people who hurt. And heal. So we ask today, what community was Nicholas born into this church? What kind of a place are we going to be? To feel his pain, to accept his joy. That's what the gospel is about. Amen.